The night Rachel buried her husband, she lost her home too, locked out by the very family she thought was hers. But as secrets rise from Ethan's past, and the garden he once dreamed of begins to bloom, Rachel discovers that the most powerful revenge isn't loud, it's rooted, relentless, and quietly unstoppable. I knew something was wrong the second the key refused to turn. It was a cold Monday morning in late January. The kind that hangs in the air like a breath that never exhales. I had just returned from St. Joseph's Hospital, still in the same jeans I'd been wearing for 2 days, still carrying the same overnight bag I'd packed when Ethan collapsed. The bouquet in my left hand, roses and lilies from his coworkers, had wilted in the back seat of my car overnight. My eyes were swollen, lips cracked from too much crying and too little sleep. I had watched my husband die in the cardiac unit 12 hours earlier. I wasn't ready to face the silence of our house, but I also wasn't ready for what I saw instead. The key jammed. I tried again. Nothing. My heart stuttered. The spare hidden behind the loose porch stone didn't work either. It was like the lock had rejected me. Then I noticed the curtains. The white linen ones I'd hemmed myself were gone, replaced by thick velvet panels in a garish floral print I'd never seen before. Inside, the living room was cluttered with boxes. A pink velvet pillow sat on my reading chair. A floral teacup is on the coffee table, and then I saw her, Diana, my mother-in-law, sipping tea, wearing a navy cardigan and a smile that sent ice crawling down my spine. Across from her, Joseline, Ethan's younger sister, was tossing throw blankets into a basket. They were laughing, moving in like I didn't exist. Like Ethan hadn't died the night before. I knocked. No answer. I knocked. Again, louder this time. The door creaked open. Diana's figure filled the frame. "Rachel," she said, tilting her head, "didn't expect you so soon. Why can't I open the door?" She leaned against the frame, arms folded. "Because, dear, you don't live here anymore." My mouth opened, but no sound came. "Excuse me, Ethan paid for this house. My son, not you. No prenup, no child, no contribution. It's time this house returned to its real family." Behind her, Joseline smirked. "You left the side door unlocked when you went to the hospital. We figured you wouldn't mind." I laughed. Not out of humor, but disbelief. "You're unpacking pillows and pouring tea in a house you think belongs to you," I said, "but you have no idea what you've just stepped into." The smile on Diana's face cracked. That was all I needed. I walked to my car. My keys were useless now, but I had something better. 2 years earlier, Ethan's startup had collapsed. The bank froze his business accounts. His credit score tanked. He told me, defeated, they might take the house. Rachel. He didn't know I had a plan. Quietly, I refinanced the house in my name using a nest egg from my old interior design job. I didn't tell Ethan or anyone else. I picked up freelance work, kept up the payments, fixed what broke, and painted the hallway. I kept us afloat. Diana never knew. She hated Savannah, hated the jazz, the heat. She visited on holidays, criticized the house, and whispered, "Ethan, you were meant for more." And now she has changed the locks. I sat in my car outside for a long time, numb, widowed and homeless in one day. Eventually, I drove to a motel off Highway 204. I used Ethan's emergency credit card to rent a room. That night, I didn't sleep. I replayed Ethan's last voicemail until my phone died. The next morning, I called the funeral home. "This is Rachel Monroe. Please remove Diana and Joseline Monroe from Ethan's service." It wasn't vengeance. Not yet. It was a boundary. Tuesday afternoon, I returned to the house. Diana and Joseline were gone. I slipped in through the back door, latch Ethan never fixed. Inside, everything felt wrong. The air fresheners, the missing photos, the lavender scent that didn't belong. Ethan's office was untouched. There, in a folder marked postnup, "Do not discard," I found it. Legal proof that in the event of his death, all assets belonged to me. It was signed, dated, binding. And tucked inside was a note. "If you're reading this, it means something awful has happened. If Mom tries anything, show this to your lawyer. You know how she is. Keep this safe, Ratch." His handwriting, his voice on paper. My knees buckled. That night I called Angela Flores, my old college roommate, now a real estate attorney. She scheduled a meeting. Wednesday arrived, dull and gray. I returned to the motel and heated a bowl of soup. Then came the knock. 3 quick raps. The kind that carries entitlement. Through the curtain, I saw Diana in black, standing like a villain from a daytime Drama. Next to her stood a man in a gray suit, clipboard in hand. Diana's scarf whipped sideways in the motel parking lot, the wind slicing through the air like judgment. I didn't open the door. Instead, zipped to my chin and folder in hand, I stepped out to meet them. "Rachel," she said, with a thin smile. "This is Mr. Langley, my family attorney. We're here to discuss next steps regarding the house." "Next steps," I repeated, keeping my voice even. Diana nodded like we were civil parties in a real estate negotiation, not adversaries. "In a funeral week home invasion, since Ethan left no will," she said, "his estate, including the house, is subject to division among next of kin. As his mother and sister, we have legal rights." "I'm his wife," I said, tone sharp, "the only legal spouse." Mr. Langley cleared his throat. "What Mrs. Monroe means is that without a clear testamentary directive, probate law permits certain—" "I'm so glad you're both here," I cut in, holding up the black folder. "Saves me a trip to your office." Diana's smile twitched. "This is a notarized postnuptial agreement," I continued. "Signed 3 years ago. 2 witnesses. Legal letterhead. It transfers all shared assets to me, the spouse, in the event of Ethan's death." Mr. Langley reached forward. "May I see?" "No," I said, pulling the folder back. "You'll get a copy through official channels. I've retained counsel." Diana's face cracked. "You're bluffing, am I?" I asked, taking a step back. "If I am, feel free to go celebrate. But if I'm not, then you've committed trespassing, unlawful entry, and tampered with property that doesn't belong to you." Mr. Langley inched away from her. "You don't get to win," Diana hissed. "You stole my son." "He wasn't a trophy," I said. "And I didn't steal him." "You pushed him away." I turned my back and walked inside. From the window, I watched them stand. In silence, Diana climbed into her car like a retreating queen. The lawyer followed. That night, I sat on the bed and read Ethan's note again. My fingers traced his ink. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. My breath came in bursts. But something had shifted. I was preparing now. Friday morning, the air in the motel was thick with grief and damp coffee grounds. While sorting funeral details, I noticed the envelope under the door. No stamp. No return address. Inside was a document from the Chatham County Probate Court. My name at the top, Rachel Monroe. Respondent. Diana had filed a petition challenging the postnuptial agreement. She claimed undue influence, that I'd manipulated Ethan during his final months. The letter burned in my hands. I called Angela. "She's saying I coerced him," I told her. Angela's voice was steady. "It's what they do when they're out of legal options. Mudslinging. She wants to rewrite who he was. She wants control," Angela corrected. "Not the house. Not even the past power." I stared at the ceiling. "I want to fight, not just stop her. Destroy her." Angela didn't flinch. "Good, but we do it smart. Let me build the wall. One brick at a time." Later that day, I got a text from James Harding, Ethan's former business partner. "Diana asked me about Ethan's mental state, about that one investor meeting. She's reaching." I remembered it clearly. 3 months before Ethan died, he came home disoriented, forgot where he parked, forgot a client's name, blamed stress. But Diana had picked up the thread. Then I remembered Ethan's offhand comment, "I've got a neurology appointment next week, just to rule stuff out." I tore open my suitcase, dug through receipts and junk mail. Then I found it, a sealed letter from St. Michael's Neurology Clinic. "Following your recent cognitive assessment, we are pleased to inform you that your results fall within the normal range." Proof he was fine. Monday morning, I met Angela at the courthouse. Spring sun but winter cold. Inside, marble, echo, tension. Diana sat in black lace, Joe's line beside her, the lawyer on their side. I didn't look. Angela and I took our seats. Mr. Langley spoke first. Framed Diana as concerned. Carefully avoided coercion but implied it. Then Angela stood, calm, firm. She laid the postnut, deed, mortgage payments, and finally the neurologist's letter. "This is dated 3 months before Mr. Monroe's death and confirms his full mental capacity." The room hushed. Mr. Langley stammered. "Do you have any medical evidence to the contrary?" the judge asked. "No, Your Honor." "Then I see no grounds. The agreement is binding. The house belongs to Mrs. Monroe. Case dismissed." Gavel down. Final. I didn't cheer. I exhaled. Long, slow, quiet. Outside, birds chirped like nothing had happened, but she followed. You may have won the house, Diana said. But you'll never erase me. I'm his mother. You erased yourself, I said. The moment you lied under oath and stole from your son's home. Ethan knew who you were. That's why he wrote the letter. She blinked. Just enough. And if you come near me again, the restraining order will speak for me. She stepped back. You can't keep me from his funeral? I already did, I said. Your name's off the list. You show up, they'll remove you. Her mouth twisted. You vindictive little, I'm not vindictive. I'm free. And I walked away. Tuesday. It has been 1 week since Ethan's heart stopped. The chapel smelled of lilies and cedar. Pews filled by 11:15. Friends, neighbors, old clients. He loved you so much, they whispered. Angela arrived, quietly, as a friend. Ern sat on velvet, Ethan's favorite color. Then I saw them. Back pew. Subtle silhouettes. Diana and Jocelyn veils. Mourning costumes. They weren't on the list. I had made sure of it. The funeral home had promised that Diana and Jocelyn wouldn't be allowed inside. But someone must have looked away at the wrong moment. There they were, in the back pew, pretending they belonged. My heart didn't pound from grief this time, it pounded with rage. I had buried Ethan once already. I wouldn't let them exhume his memory for performance. Angela leaned toward me. Want me to handle it? I shook my head. No, I'll do it myself. I rose, each step echoing in the sudden hush. The music halted. Even the minister moved aside. Every pair of eyes followed me as I walked to the back. Diana looked up, her smile rehearsed. Jocelyn couldn't meet my gaze. You're not supposed to be here, I said, voice low and steady. We're not leaving, Diana replied. I gave birth to him. Then you should have respected his wishes. I'm his mother, and I'm his wife, I said, the only one he chose. She straightened. You can't stop me from mourning. Not mourning, performing. I paused, then added, I'll walk out right now and take the minister with me. We'll finish in a park, a parking lot, or a diner. But you will not use his death for dignity you never earned. A beat of silence passed. Then Jocelyn stood. Mom, she said quietly, still not looking at me. Let's go. We're not wanted. Here, she continued. Let's stop pretending. Diana stared at her, stunned. But eventually, she followed. 2 pairs of heels clicked away, the chapel door shutting behind them. I turned back to the altar. A collective breath filled the room. I resumed my walk to the front. The music swelled again, and I said goodbye without lies. Without venom, just truth and love. The house felt heavier the next day, the kind of silence that doesn't comfort, it watches. I stood in Ethan's old sweatshirt, a chipped mug in hand, staring at our bare backyard. The coffee had long gone cold. I turned slowly, almost expecting Ethan at the table, but his chair sat empty. The mug was his. The silence was mine. I'd survived the funeral and court. But a part of me still braced for impact, and then I saw it. Diana's car across the street. Windows down, engine off. She didn't knock. She didn't move, just watched, smoke curling out of her window. I stepped outside barefoot and met her eyes. She flicked her cigarette, started the engine, and drove away. No words, just gone. But it wasn't surrender. It was a reminder. I still exist. For 3 days. I waited, but she didn't return. I spent those days inside, sorting papers, touching everything Ethan once touched. Every pen, receipt, and post-it carried a story. On the 3rd day, I found his gardening notebook. Drawings of marigolds, taped seed packets. One note scrawled, "For Roch one day when you're ready." I wasn't ready, but I went outside anyway. I dug where he marked, turned the soil with bare hands, planted the seeds, watered gently, sat beside them until the sun disappeared. When I returned to the porch, an envelope was waiting. No stamp, no handwriting, just 6 printed words. This house will always be mine. I laughed, not bitter, not mocking. Just a release. She had nothing left. Just words from a woman now removed from every corner of my life. I walked to the garden, dug a small hole beneath the marigolds, buried the paper, covered it in soil. Maybe something good would grow from it. You don't haunt me anymore, I whispered. I went inside and brewed cinnamon tea, because Ethan always said, grief needs something sweet. Spring came early. The garden stirred. Shoots pushed through, green and stubborn. Each morning, I sat outside with coffee in hand, wrapped in Ethan's flannel. No makeup, no performance, just breathe. I never saw Diana again. Not a letter, not a call, not a parked car. Maybe it was the restraining order. Maybe the truth finally took root. Either way, she was gone. The house evolved. I painted the guest room sage, replaced her photos with mine. Ethan and I at the lake. Max, our dog. Sunset skies. I cleaned the office, but left one drawer, untouched his drawer. Not as a shrine, just as a promise. Some nights, I sat by the window and told Ethan about the garden. The marigolds, the wind chimes, I didn't expect answers. But sometimes, the breeze shifted just right. I also reopened my design business. Slowly, gently. A widow is repainting her kitchen. A couple is building a sunroom. A young woman reclaiming her apartment after a broken engagement. They didn't know my story, but I saw myself in each of them. I designed like I gardened with care, with vision, with roots. One morning, a letter arrived by regular mail. No threats. Just a check. A refund from the funeral home. The note said, "You handled everything with grace." No signature. But I knew the handwriting. Jocelyn's. I tucked it into Ethan's garden journal. It didn't fix anything, but it was something by early summer. The marigolds bloomed blazing orange and gold. I sat beside them, barefoot, whispered into the wind. I didn't win because I took something from you, Diana. I won because I refused to let you take me. The chimes on the porch sang. Somewhere in the hush, I could almost hear Ethan laugh. They say, grief fades. It doesn't, it shifts, softens, but it never disappears. It folds itself into your morning tea, into the silence between songs, into the way your hand reaches for someone who isn't there. Ethan is gone. That's the truth. But so is the woman. I used to be the one who kept peace at any cost, who let herself shrink so others could feel tall. That woman died the day Ethan did. And in her place, I planted something else. Not revenge, not bitterness, just roots. The garden out back is wild. Now, not messy, just alive. Marigolds.mint. Lavender, a bench under the old maple tree. Some evenings, I sit there not to cry, just to remember who I've become. It turns out the sweetest revenge isn't a gavel, it's locking your door. Drinking coffee without fear. Breathing in a home that no longer smells like shame. I don't tell everyone what happened, but sometimes, when a woman's hand shakes while writing a check at the market, I say, you don't have to be polite to someone who erases you. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. And I tell them about the garden. How something bloomed, from the ashes, how it fed me, calmed me, held me. That's not a metaphor. That's survival. Now I don't walk like I used to. I don't flinch at her memory. I don't look over my shoulder. Because she lost and I'm not angry. I'm just done. This house is mine. This life is mine. And finally, so is my voice. The first thunderstorm of summer arrived uninvited, crashing down over Savannah in the middle of a Friday night. I was curled on the couch with Max's old blanket, watching an old black and white film Ethan used to love. Rain lashed the windows. Thunder rolled like a slow drumbeat. I welcomed the storm. For once, I wasn't afraid of what came knocking. Around midnight, a sharp crack split the night. Not thunderglass. I moved quickly, heart hammering. A window in the back room had been smashed. Wind howled through the opening, and rain pooled on the hardwood. I flipped on the lights and grabbed my phone. 911 was halfway dialed when I saw it, a brick lying on the floor, wrapped in soaked newspaper. I stared at it, breath shallow. My first instinct was fear. My second, fury. I picked up the brick, unfolded the paper. Inside was a torn photograph Ethan and me at our wedding. Only half remained. My half. The other was ripped clean away. There was no note, but there didn't need to be. Angela arrived before the police. She wore jeans, a hoodie, and a look that could kill. "This is harassment," she said after surveying the scene. "If she's broken the restraining order, we can file again. Stronger, harsher." But I shook my head. "No, we won't chase her shadow anymore." Angela looked confused. "Then what do? We don't react, we rebuild." She stared at me a beat, then nodded slowly. "Okay, but Rachel, don't mistake healing for weakness. You're allowed to fight." I smiled. I already did, and I won. The officers were kind, if ineffectual. They took the brick, filed a report, and promised extra patrols. But I didn't care about the police report. I cared about what the garden would look like after the storm. The next morning, I stood at the marigold bed. Several stalks had snapped in the wind. Petals littered the soil like confetti after a war. I knelt, picking them up one by one. Some damage couldn't be undone, but it could be tended. As I worked, my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, then answered. Rachel. A voice I hadn't heard in years. My mother. My breath caught. I read about Ethan, she said. I know we haven't spoken since before the wedding, but I wanted to say, I'm sorry. Silence. You don't owe me anything, she added. I just wanted to say that. I didn't speak right away. I watched a bee land on the nearest flower. Thank you, I said at last. I accept your apology. But I'm not inviting you in. Not yet. She sighed. I wouldn't expect you to. But I'll let you send seeds, I added. For the garden, a pause. Then a laugh. Choked, teary. I'll send tulips. They were your grandmother's favorite. By July, the garden overflowed. Strangers started asking about it. One day, a local reporter passed by while I trimmed the roses. She asked if she could do a feature for the paper's lifestyle section. I said yes. The article was called The Widow's Garden, How One Woman Reclaimed Her Space. It ran on the front page. I didn't tell Diana. I didn't need to. I knew she'd see it. Savannah was small like that. One afternoon, a package arrived. No return address. But the handwriting was familiar. Inside, a necklace I thought I'd lost. A locket Ethan gave me on our 5th anniversary. In the center, a note. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I was angry, but I shouldn't have taken it out on you. Signed, Jocelyn. I placed the necklace beside Ethan's folded gardening journal. Some wounds don't heal with words, but this one, it scabbed, and that was something. Late August brought something unexpected. An offer. A local nonprofit had read the article. They wanted to partner with me to start a community garden project, healing through design. Grief spaces. Reclaimed homes. I blinked at the email. They even offered me a small grant to start. I sat in the office, Ethan's drawer still untouched, beside me, and I smiled. Let's grow something, I whispered. The ribbon cutting was small but beautiful. Angela stood beside me, beaming. Jocelyn came too quietly, near the back. She brought tulip bulbs. I spoke briefly, not from a podium, but from the soil. Grief is not a hole to climb out of. It's a root system. It spreads, but so does growth. So does peace. This space is for anyone who needs to remember they still belong somewhere. Applause, laughter, a breeze that felt like a hand on my shoulder. Now, almost a year since Ethan died, the house feels like mine in every way. I still make cinnamon tea. I still read his notes. I still talk to the wind sometimes, but I'm not haunted anymore. Not by Diana. Not by grief. Not by who I used to be. This is not a story of revenge. It's a story of reclamation, of a woman who lost everything: her husband, her home, her place, and planted something anyway. And when I sit on the garden bench, under the maple tree, I hear the wind through the chimes. And sometimes, just sometimes, it sounds like a man laughing. Ethan, still here, in petals, in pages, in peace.